Story 1. Health. 77 years old. Never been admitted to hospital. Never required medication for any ongoing health issue. Story 2. Really smooth skin, never any blemishes growing up. Minimal upkeep. Story 3. I can estimate with unerring accuracy how many bags I need to ask for at the supermarket. My wife thinks I am a wizard. Story 4. Eyebrows. Thick, arched, and shaped. I never touch them. What most women try to accomplish with makeup and cosmetic procedures, I have naturally. Story 5. Born without wisdom teeth. This saved me the trouble of having to have them removed in the future. Story 6. Not looking my age. When my mom was younger and had me, people did not believe her when she said she was 23 with a kid. They thought she was 16. My dad died at 51, but people say he didn't look that age, and he did not have a single gray hair. I am 27, and people say I could pass for an 18-year-old. Anyway, people have asked if my 17-year-old brother and I are dating. Story 7. I could always eat like a horse and not gain a pound. However, at 35, my thin body was diagnosed with diabetes and I had to learn portion control and carbohydrate counting. I am 46 now. Story 8. I gain muscle very easily and quickly, and it stays on no matter how little I eat. If I were a man, this would be the best thing ever. Story 9. My teeth are naturally straight, and even my wisdom teeth came in without any issues. Story 10. My wife works with children and is sick all the time. I never catch it. Story 11. I have the second best night vision of everyone I know. The best is my boyfriend. Story 12. Handiness. My siblings cannot hang a picture straight, while I am building furniture and other items. I can use an impact drill on the first try without instructions. We are all girls, by the way, so there is no gender bias. It is just such a useful skill to have. I am saving a lot of money on handymen. Story 13. This is the kind of spirituality I can support. No hidden fees or unexpected charges, just unlimited peace. Story 14. Non-functioning adenosine triphosphate binding cassette subfamily C member 11 gene. I have never needed to use a deodorant. Story 15. Eternal youth. People I meet think I am a college student. I am about to be 40. Benefit of being half black and half Asian, I guess. It comes with smooth skin, lack of blemishes, no wrinkles, and a baby face with little facial hair. I also never have to wear sunscreen, even in Arizona. I have a full head of hair at my age. I won that from my mom. Thanks, Mom. Story 16. My height. My parents are both 5 feet 6 inches, and statistically speaking, I should have been short, but somehow I am 6 feet tall. Edit. I am one of 3 in my entire family who are 6 feet or taller. I am the only one on my father's side. Story 17. Great skin and baby face. I'm in my mid-30s and everyone still thinks I'm in my mid-20s. They are always shocked by how young I look. I hated it as a kid, but now I'm finally enjoying it. Story 18. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, polycystic ovary syndrome, fibromyalgia, major depression, and what I think is a really pretty eye color. Story 19. Cancer. My mother died of cancer, my mother's sisters died of cancer, and cousins on my mother's side have cancer. I am waiting for my diagnosis. Story 20. Upper middle class, white, straight, cisgender male. Thank you, Louis C.K. Story 21. I am a 29-year-old male considered objectively good-looking according to others. Not extremely attractive, but enough to stand out and be whistled at or complimented frequently. I am a decent size at 5 feet 11 inches and put on muscle easily without gaining fat. I also have a strong immune system. Downside, I have a long history with addiction, bipolar disorder, depression, and other conditions that have led me to be on over 20 medications throughout my life, including Suboxone. I also have pectus excavatum, although the corrective surgery called the Nuss procedure worked wonders. Win some, lose some. I also wonder how much nurture influenced nature in some of these things. Perhaps I would be over 6 feet tall and not have as much mental illness if I had not started abusing drugs at 14. Story 22. I have nice legs. My mother is still going strong at 90, and my father made it to 86 even after a difficult life that included fighting in Russia during World War II, including a stint as a prisoner of war and a lifetime of heavy smoking. I have not had my intelligence measured, but I believe I am more intelligent than at least one former president of the United States of America. Story 23. An incredible combination: bipolar type 2 disorder, anxiety, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and a skin disease that reacts to stress. Until I learned what my issues were, I had been in a loop started by depression triggering anxiety. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder made me focus only on it, which triggered my skin disease. My skin disease was stressful both physically and mentally, creating a full circle. Story 24. Eyelashes. I never gave it much importance, but almost every woman I met was jealous of my eyelashes, which are long and nice. I am a man, by the way. Story 25. On the one hand, mental illness. On the other hand, I am 43 and most people think I am 30. Story 26. Flexibility. I can put my legs behind my head, do a front fold, touch my toes, and even do so while hugging my legs. I just have a flexible body. Story 27. Cast iron gut. My bacteria works hard and does not take any nonsense. Happy to exchange it for some height, but overall cannot complain. Story 28. Genetic testing shows I have 0 genetic cancer mutations for over 30 types of cancer. Does that mean I cannot get cancer? No, but it now depends on environmental factors, and I consider that a win. Story 29. Gumby body, or maybe just amazing split-second instincts to mitigate the incoming damage. I don't know. I roll my ankles all the time, sometimes eliciting audible gasps from others. I have never felt even slight pain. If I cross my legs, I can fake faint super convincingly and safely, but apparently, everyone I tried teaching this to said it is very painful. Right now, I just got up and did it 3 times on hard tile, and other than a little discomfort in my upper right buttock that went away in minutes, I feel the same as a moment ago. My dad's only real injury in many years playing sports, college scholarship to play full-time on an award-winning defense, and other sports, was his Achilles tendon playing pickup basketball. He was already over 50 years old. I've never been in a serious accident, but I don't even need to go far to tell some crazy ones. This one is from my faulty young memory. My mom was in a bus accident that killed over half the people involved. I was young and my memory is bad, but I think her recovery was about 2 weeks of bed rest at home. What I can say is that I saw her about a week after it happened, and I swear to you if you took the medical equipment out of that room, you would never have known. She wasn't right at the impact but was closer to the others who died. This one is real. My grandma, as a child, fell off a massive wall onto some metal pipe. I don't know how big the wall was, but the way the story is told and how everyone agrees it should have killed her instantly, I guess 5 to 10 stories. She only broke her back, and she not only recovered in less than 18 months but worked on a farm for years after. To this day, she is by far our most mobile grandparent. I am not even close to being done. Story 30. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, dyslexia, predisposition towards alcoholism and other addictive substances. I am very athletic, able to bench press 405 pounds without steroids. Story 31. All the family initial diagnoses: attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, borderline personality disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder. At least I did not get schizophrenia. Story 32. A super-fast metabolism can be an absolute superpower sometimes. Story 33. Tall and young looks. I am also a redhead. I look pretty good too. Story 34. I have an uncanny ability to tell the time without seeing a clock. Story 35. The exact measurements and height from the Sir Mix-a-Lot song. Story 36. General fitness. I can barely work out and still stay decently fit while eating whatever I want. I definitely did not inherit good dental health genetics. Story 37. Colored eyes even though my father is dark. It is fascinating how genes are expressed. Story 38. It's easy to complain about life, but recently things have looked good. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, again, is easy to complain about, but there are positives, like I am also very creative. Story 39. Length, girth, intelligence, and curly hair. I am a solid 6 in the appearance department, but it all works out perfectly. Story 40. The wrong genitals and hormones. Also, an immune system that has kept me from ever calling in sick my entire life. Story 41. Height and the ability to gain muscle quickly and maintain it easily. Story 42. Great beard growth, having perfectly average height, which is ideal for buying affordable clothes that fit well, and a good metabolism that keeps my weight in a healthy range even though I consume food frequently. Story 43. O negative blood. Not especially good for me, but I am a universal donor and I like that. I have really nice blue eyes, naturally lean and veiny forearms, and I am well endowed. Story 44. A lovely 6 months in hospital at age 19 due to testicular cancer. Diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis at age 53. Story 45. Beautiful hazel eyes, youthful genes, nice legs, and a great smile. Story 46. Height, high metabolism, and no genetic disorders or diseases. Story 47. Having a very high metabolism is something that many people would love. Story 48. My voice is really loud and in tune. I have zero vocal training, and I can sing with the best of them. I have no desire to pursue it professionally, as I already have a Doctor of Philosophy degree in biochemistry. Story 49. Overclocked brain, coincidentally also my biggest genetic loss. Story 50. Poor vision, unable to run, severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and I am very hairy. Story 51. Head full of hair and a full beard. 2 things I am ever so glad of. Story 52. My height and blue eyes have been serving me well. Story 53. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and Tourette syndrome. My Tourette syndrome is fortunately almost symptomless now, but childhood with it was very difficult. Story 54. Calves. I don't need to work out to have amazing calves. Skinny pants often don't fit at all. After I severely injured my Achilles tendon while jogging, a musculoskeletal doctor told me it's because my ankles are deformed. Just walking around gives my calves a workout as they compensate for my malformed ankle joints. I can't tolerate orthotics because of damage to my plantar fascia, so I just have to stretch a lot and be careful. Story 55. I am 6 feet 5 inches tall, and I can grow a beard that intimidates lumberjacks. In addition, I have the male equivalent of resting bitch face. Basically, when someone wants to create a visual aid or poster child for healthy masculinity, they usually use me as an example. Story 56. Lengthy frame, but relatively small hands and feet. Weak beard, but thick strong hair. Story 57. No gray hair. 48 years old. My grandmother died at 92 and only had gray around her temples. She also had all of her teeth until very late in life. Story 58. My teeth. I have never had a cavity. My wisdom teeth were only the top ones, and they only took them out to be extra safe. Recovery was so smooth I went to a convention 2 days later. Considering I have struggled to maintain consistent teeth care due to mental illness and my sister has teeth problems. Story 59. I have been told I have very nice, deep blue eyes and naturally straight, white teeth. Story 60. Good height, great hair and overall appearance. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Story 61. Great hair and great skin. Other than that, I am a bit of a train wreck. Story 62. Longevity on my father's side. Dementia on my mother's. That is going to be difficult. Story 63. I'm almost 40 with no known health issues except being slightly overweight and having an IQ of about 150. My children, as far as we can tell, have inherited some intelligence and are doing well. Heart disease is a concern in my family, so I should work harder on managing my weight. Story 64. Long legs do not gain weight and several doctors acknowledged my ears, which seemed to be perfect. Story 65. Probably a good kidney and liver, judging by the amount of waste I am ingesting. Story 66. Incredibly stable weight while also being easy to gain or lose. I have always had a very stable weight, but when I wanted to gain some, I gained precisely as much as I wanted and maintained it effortlessly. When I wanted to lose a little because I was uncomfortable with my body image, I lost the weight just as easily. Story 67. Red hair with green eyes, but without freckles and very pale skin, so I actually tan pretty well. Story 68. Strong bones, thick skin on the face with few wrinkles, and it looks like I will be the last to have gray hair. Story 69. Very light blue eyes. People have commented on them for as long as I can remember. When I was growing up, people would look at me and stare. I would think, do I know that person? Most times, people would say, I love your eyes. You look like you have wolf eyes. I wish I had your eyes. I did not like this one when I was young. Later on, when colored contacts became available, people would ask, is that your real eye color? Even now, at 59, I get compliments at least once a week about my beautiful blue eyes. Story 70. ABCC 11 gene. Not having to worry about body odor or applying deodorant. Story 71. Long and skinny legs. I get a lot of compliments. I learned to do splits too, and it can surprise some people. Story 72. Height. Though I am significantly taller than either of my parents, and a full head of hair, which I inherited from a great-grandmother. I basically won the genetic lottery by being a genetic aberration. Story 73. Good teeth. When I went to university at 18, I forgot to book myself a regular dental appointment. This continued for 17 years until I was forced to see someone due to wisdom tooth pain at age 35. The dentist inspected my teeth, and bracing for horrific news, I asked what they could see. There was a bit of overcrowding at the back, so my wisdom teeth needed to be removed, but no cavities and no gum disease. I told them I hadn't seen a dentist in 17 years, and they blinked incredulously. Fast forward another few years, and I'm 45 with no cavities and no fillings. Story 74. Six-pack abdominal muscles that have required no maintenance as long as I can remember. Story 75. Good physical health until mid-40s. Manageable mental health issues. Story 76. Despite living a difficult and interesting life, I still look about 15 years younger than my age of 54, which I attribute to genetics. When my paternal grandfather died in his mid-80s, he appeared to be around 50. Story 77. Strong and thick hair. I do not think balding has been a factor in my family, at least during my lifetime. I might be fortunate enough to live with a full head of hair. Story 78. My maintenance calories are very high, which is great because I love food, but it is challenging if I want to gain weight. Maintaining it is fairly easy as long as I do not get sick. Story 79. A 46-year-old woman has an exceptional ability to build muscle quickly. Story 80. Clean skin, extremely thick and healthy hair that grows very fast, and nails that never break. The only downside is that I almost have to use pliers to cut my nails, and the fast-growing hair is not limited to my head. I do not use any supplements or follow a healthy diet. Story 81. No balding, and I am in my mid-40s with very little gray hair. Story 82. Blue eyes and blonde hair. Everything else is pretty much disappointing. Story 83. Eyebrows, nails, healthy skin, good posture, feminine and small body parts such as ears, face, and hands. Story 84. Premature birth, impaired eyesight, though corrected since, and unattractive appearance. Story 85. I am a moderately tall white man with a professional-looking face. If I stay quiet, people assume I am smarter and more knowledgeable than I actually am on most subjects. If I had the confidence of a salesperson, I could really take advantage of people. Story 86. Fast metabolism. I can eat a variety of foods and maintain a healthy weight. Story 87. It's a gamble. Either a long life without health issues or cancer. Story 88. Hair. I am 35 years old, have worn hats my whole life, and still have a head of thick, luscious gray hair. Please stop commenting about the gray. Story 89. Hair. I am a female with naturally type 2B/C wavy hair that falls perfectly without much effort or use of fancy products. Coworkers, strangers, friends, and even my siblings often compliment me. It seems like that is my best physical quality. Story 90. I have really oily skin. It seems better than having dry skin that needs to be moisturized all the time. Story 91. No loss of hair or gray hair in a man in his late 30s. My father, in his 60s, lives a self-neglecting, sedentary alcoholic lifestyle and has had no hair treatment at all. Yet he still shows no sign of hair loss, and it is hard to spot a gray hair at first glance. Considering some people pay money for wigs, transplants, or regrowing treatments, do I have a gifted gene? Meanwhile, I do not care much about my hair, so I simply shave it every few months. Story 92. Good immune system and wide collarbones, so my frame looks large. The rest, though, is kind of mediocre. Story 93. Great hair and skin. 62 and no wrinkles. A lot of hair that has to be thinned out by half each cut. Also, a great sense of humor. Edit. No makeup except eyeliner and mascara, except on really special occasions when I wear lip balm. Story 94. Just yesterday I was told I had great legs. Funny how you don't see it, but others do. Still got it at 57. Story 95. Sleeping while traveling. It is actually almost impossible for me to stay awake in any moving vehicle. I impressed my co-travelers once by sleeping 12 hours straight in a tiny seat in economy class during a transcontinental flight. I can sleep in buses, cars, and trains too. I sit upright with no need to recline the seat. Story 96. My dad is a terrible balding man, and I look just like him, but I have managed to keep my hair. Story 97. Height, weight, body ratio, looking younger than my age, only 1 or 2 gray hairs at 33, and naturally medium-sized lips. Edit. Forgot 2 things. Story 98. Intelligent, analytical, with an even temper. School was fairly easy. I did not have to study much until college. I was able to identify the most crucial readings and assignments to focus on to achieve good grades. I excelled more in social sciences and reading than in math, but I run my own business and understand taxes, insurance, budgeting, investing, and other financial matters well enough to manage. I rarely feel overwhelmed, but I am skilled at masking my feelings. This enables me to support my husband with his mental health challenges without lashing out or becoming angry. Story 99. Height. I have one relative, my great-grandfather, who is over 6 feet tall in 4 generations on both sides of my family. I am currently 6 feet 4 inches tall. Story 100. Really good hair. I am 38 years old, and there are no signs of balding or graying. Thick, long hair. Story 101. Fast metabolism, natural strength, strong mind, inquisitive nature, lack of respect for authority. I live by my own rules. Story 102. Higher testosterone levels in a woman. I was bullied throughout high school, but as an adult, it has made building muscle in martial arts much easier. Story 103. Good teeth, and I mean in terms of health, not necessarily appearance. My enamel is very strong. I am 43 years old and have never had a cavity or any dental problems. My dentist tells me that a fair bit of that is genetic. Health in general is excellent. I have no health issues or body problems, and I have never struggled with my weight. Overall, I seem to have a healthy body. Story 104. Just 3 years ago, my father passed away from cancer. Last year, my only brother passed away from cancer. I was diagnosed with, you guessed it, cancer. I am putting up a good fight, but I am slowly losing the battle. Story 105. I went bald very young. The time saved getting ready over my lifetime is invaluable. Story 106. Health so far. Almost 40 years old. Never been to the hospital or undergone surgery. No glasses and only 2 cavities. I inherited good health from my father, who is 74, while my sisters inherited health issues from my mother and have faced many problems growing up and as adults. I feel very lucky. Hopefully, this will continue. Story 107. I am from a white family that ages slowly until they reach their mid-50s. I met my partner when I was 25, and I had to confirm my age to people more than enough times for several years. Story 108. Good hair, good teeth, youthful appearance, poor eyesight, petite, sweet tooth. Well endowed since I was 10 years old. Was a double D in middle school, which was rough. Story 109. Olive clear skin, green eyes, dark curly hair, naturally hourglass figure. Story 110. Really nice clear skin that makes me look younger than I am. No allergies or health problems so far. On the other hand, I need some pretty thick glasses, so I think it evens out a bit. Story 111. Probably my eyes. They are the most ideal brown eyes that you will ever find. Story 112. Smooth skin. Nice body proportions. Story 113. Pros. High intelligence quotient when I was young, 164 measured by a psychologist when I was 10 years old. Cons. Lowered emotional intelligence when I was young. Apparently, it's not autism, but it is genetic. I was the first person in my family to attend university with virtually no help besides parental encouragement. The teachers thought I was not smart enough due to my poor communication skills with children of the same age. My parents are very proud of that. The bullying in my younger years was relentless, though. I wished I were more of an average person because of it, and I hope my children will be average as well. Now that I am an adult, everything has sorted itself out. When I am with other highly educated peers, the only things that stand out are an above-average memory, a slightly wider knowledge base outside my area of expertise, and a shy demeanor in new situations. Story 114. Health. I am 42 years old and everything hurts. Story 115. Height and good looks. I didn't find out about the good looks until I finally got contact lenses in my 20s. Story 116. I don't easily have blemishes or stretch marks, even when I gained and lost weight, got pregnant and gave birth. I believe this is winning the genetics lottery, as my mother and grandmother didn't have stretch marks either. Story 117. Honestly, my breasts are the only good thing about me. Size 36HH. I have epilepsy, I smoke cigarettes, and there is a long history of common illnesses in my family, including heart problems, breast cancer, lung cancer, joint problems, I wear glasses, and more. Basically, once I turned 19, I am now 27, I said, whatever happens, happens, and decided to just live life because I feel basically determined by my circumstances. Story 118. Maybe youthfulness. I am a male, 37 years old, and people think I am 30. Story 119. 44 and no gray hair yet. My younger siblings both have a decent amount of gray already. Story 120. Generally good physical health, great metabolism, and high intelligence quotient. However, autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder still make life challenging and prevent me from excelling academically since I suddenly froze. Story 121. Coriander tastes like soap. Goodbye, Mexican and Indian food. Story 122. My mom has club feet and poor vision. My older brother inherited the feet and vision genetics from her. I got my dad's genes and lucked out. Story 123. Toes that decrease in size from the big toe to the small toe to create a perfect 45-degree angle. Story 124. I look younger than I really am. I am actually 41 but often mistaken for someone in their early 30s. Story 125. Good teeth, low cholesterol, and pretty green, blue, or hazel eyes. Height. 183 centimeters. Astigmatism, poor coordination, baldness, and skin cancer. Autism varies in presentation. Story 126. The positive aspect of autism makes me very skilled in math and business. My Master of Science in Mathematics was challenging but seemed significantly easier compared to many of my peers. Now in business, I am very successful because I am a fantastic problem solver and leader. My wife says my autism is my greatest strength. Story 127. Nice hair, youthful skin, slim build, and good teeth. On the downside, I also have a list. Story 128. My hair grows fast, and my eyebrows look professionally shaped. Story 129. My genetics are not great. However, one thing I have is good teeth. I have never had a cavity, even though I have eaten my fair share of candy and sweets. I still have 2 baby teeth left at 37 years old because there are no permanent teeth underneath them. Story 130. Blue-gray eyes, blonde hair, healthy, Baby face. I can't complain, I guess. Story 131. No body hair at all. The little that I have is really light-colored and almost invisible. It is both a blessing and a curse because I cannot grow a beard. Story 132. Got great memory and the capability to understand any subject the first time if explained to me. However, this comes with being a redhead and possibly having either autism or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which I was not diagnosed with. Story 133. I do not know if this counts, but I have the best teeth of anyone in my immediate family. My father did not have any, and my mother's, stepfather's, and brother's teeth were rotted to nubs. I am missing my back teeth due to impaction, but I still have all the rest. Story 134. A lot. No permanent pain. I can see, I can hear, I can walk. I have 2 arms and dexterous enough hands. So far, no life-threatening illnesses and no issues with food. We all have a lot to be grateful for. Sometimes we take too much for granted. Story 135. The biggest one was intelligence. It never felt like any doors were completely closed to me because I wasn't smart enough. I pick most things up fairly quickly and don't feel intellectually intimidated very easily. I'm not arrogant about it, but I'm moderately sure of my raw abilities and refined talents in most circumstances. Not sports, though. Story 136. Academic intelligence, anxiety, or shyness. Little to no sense of humor. Story 137. I can jump super high. I could never get the form down for the high jump, so I could only clear 6 feet 2 inches. I have a 48-inch vertical and can hit my head on a basketball rim. I can jump higher than almost any player in the National Basketball Association, but it never helped me that much. I can win bets because no one ever expects a 6 feet 2 inches white guy to dunk without taking a step, especially in business clothes. Story 138. Straight teeth with no cavities that have not been filed flat despite being in my mid-40s. Story 139. Nice skin as I age, my mother's organization, my biological father's stoicism, and my grandfather's passion for reading and learning. Story 140. Of my entire body, I think my feet are the strongest. I am a fighter, and once a man weighing 140 kilograms fell on my foot. I was 15 years old at the time, and I really thought it was broken. Today, it is intact. Story 141. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder makes many things in life difficult, but it also makes everything really fun. Living in like super speed, being super talkative with so many ideas. It is really fun. Story 142. As mentioned earlier, I am very rarely sick and do not even get colds. I had COVID-19 once and was sick for about 12 hours. I am also blessed with a gene that makes my earwax quite bothersome, but I do not have to use deodorant, which is a plus. Story 143. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder type 2, chronic depression, and a TTN nonsense mutation in my cardiac muscles which, at 41, has not yet expressed itself. I am kind of lucky. My 30-year-old nephew received a pacemaker this year. I am pretty sure I am made of the caked-on crust at the bottom of the gene pool. Story 144. Internal compass. I always know which direction I am facing. Story 145. So much cancer, so many different types in the family as well. Story 146. High pain tolerance, intelligence, blonde hair, blue eyes, nice round breasts, not visible. Never had an addiction, and I have an internal clock, so I do not need an alarm to wake up. I have also never broken a bone and look younger than 51. Story 147. My hair is thick and grows fast. My grandparents still have a full head of thick hair. Luckily, both of my parents have this wonderful gene. Story 148. Good hair genes. Grandfather never went bald. Father still has fairly decent hair at nearly 80 years old. Story 149. Tall people do not have to worry about grocery store shelves. Story 150. My weight is both a blessing and a curse depending on the season. Some days I just want to gain. Story 151. I'm naturally petite and skinny. I am 29 years old and have had 2 children, and you would not be able to tell. Story 152. I have incredibly good teeth. I have never had cavities or needed braces. I lost my last baby tooth when I was 13 years old. I do not floss, and dentists have always told me there is nothing better than my teeth. During COVID-19, I struggled a lot with my mental health, so I did not brush my teeth regularly, but they were still perfectly fine apart from a bit of calculus. I have also never had acne. I only get one pimple before starting my period, but that is it. Story 153. My calves are naturally large and are getting bigger because they respond well to workouts. Story 154. Honestly, a lot. Like struck gold in a few ways. But I also inherited a few delightful flavors of executive dysfunction, so I did not spend the winnings very well. Hopefully my son will do better. He is not, oh well. Story 155. Voice. Since I turned 17 years old, I have had a really deep voice, and it is awesome. Story 156. Creativity, intelligence, and nice eyes. Lost plenty in the genetics lottery too. Story 157. Extremely age-resistant hair. I am 35 and do not have a single gray hair. My hair is black like the night with no bald spots. Anyone reading this might think, but at 35, that's kind of normal. Not in my family. On my mother's side, every one of my cousins went bald. Completely bald with no hair and a shiny scalp, by the age of 25. On my father's side, I am not sure exactly, but my mother said he had a head full of white patches by 30. Also, the funny thing is that what is supposed to be a gray hair on me ends up red. Sometimes I find very strange red hairs in my beard. Story 158. Genetically speaking, I have many challenges with mental and physical health. However, I suppose I am endearing, so people feel compelled to take care of me. Story 159. Hair and muscle gain. In my family, all males have very healthy and abundant hair on their heads without being excessively hairy elsewhere. They also have the capacity to build muscle very quickly and easily, as well as gain fat. Story 160. Height approximately 192 centimeters. Very thick and blonde hair. I really like my eye color too, somewhere between blue and gray. They have not really helped me much in life, but I guess it is nice to have at least some things you like about yourself. Story 161. A whole pile of my father's genetic health problems, including diabetes, arthritis, thyroid problems, vitamin B deficiency, and a couple more I will not bore you with. Story 162. Super low body fat in my arms. I lift a little, but the vascularity of my arms makes me look much stronger than I am. Story 163. According to the dentist, I have very thick tooth enamel and have never had a cavity in 55 years despite less than perfect brushing as a child. Story 164. As a child, I was convinced that some of my deciduous molars had fallen out more than once. Now, I am not so sure of that. Story 165. I am 27 years old, but I look like I am 12. Everyone in my family looks their age except me. Story 166. I often see couples who are trying to conceive but cannot. I had both my pregnancies on the first try each time. Story 167. Red hair occurs naturally in 2% of the population. Mine is not orange. It can be mistaken for brown from a distance or when it is wet. Story 168. I am a white person with full lips, which I have never seen before. My father is not white, which helps, but I am sure. Story 169. Height around 6.6 feet. Good teeth, not even one cavity. Skin is really elastic for whatever reason. Story 170. Type 1 diabetes and a strong determination to achieve goals. Story 171. I am allergic to alcohol, which I am kind of glad about, or I would be entering into an alcoholic spiral. Story 172. I have good cardiovascular health. My doctors always ask if I run a lot due to my low beats per minute. As a kid, I always wondered why my peers had such bad endurance. I contemplated writing this sentence many times and then kept deleting it. I am well endowed. Story 173. My partner and I do not seem to age. When asked, people guess we are 25 years old. We are 35. It has been painful growing up because I was always identified. Story 174. Sight was tested when my brother actually needed a test for his glasses. The examiner said I have the vision required to become a sniper. There is a threshold or something to become a sniper. Story 175. I have a six-pack even at relatively high body fat for a fit person. My fat goes elsewhere. Story 176. 20/20 vision. Everyone else in my family wears glasses. Some of them are blind as a bat without them. Story 177. Brains and youthful looks. People usually guess I am about 10 years younger. Story 178. Probably jinxing it by saying it, but longevity runs in my family. My grandmothers were 94 and 98 when they passed. Story 179. I am tall according to my country's standards. The funny part is none of my parents are actually tall, but yes, I am tall. Story 180. My father and mother are now in their 50s. They look like they are 35. I am 28 and look like 20. However, my face is unattractive. Story 181. The ability to detect rotting citrus fruits is useful in an office environment when the supervisor has gone on vacation, leaving a container of kumquats in the desk drawer. Story 182. Good teeth. 50 years here. Never had a cavity, crown, or root canal. I only go for cleaning every 6 months. Story 183. Able to lift and hang objects with ease, such as a water gallon or a bag of groceries, all in one hand. I have never gone to the gym regularly or taken any supplements. My father owned a liquor store and used to lift crates of beer and water gallons. Story 184. Great results. They have been consistently positive regardless of my body fat percentage. Story 185. I am handsome for a man. I am overweight as well, but I can change that. Story 186. No body odor. This is probably the only thing going for me, and my intelligence and creativity, I guess, but I am not sure if that is genetic. Story 187. I am tall, but not so tall that it is a talking point, just tall enough that grandmothers ask me to get items off the shelf at the supermarket. Story 188. Mental health problems include borderline personality disorder, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and anxiety, awaiting diagnosis for autism. Positive aspects include intelligence, good fertility, and healthy teeth. Story 189. Very fast healing ability, metabolism, and mild hyperflexibility. Story 190. I am a woman with natural blonde hair. As an adult, it is still blonde. I am not saying it is better, but I have never dyed my hair, so it is a cost savings. I also have an abnormally high amount of muscle for a female body. The doctors say this is a very good thing, especially as I age. Story 191. Beautiful light blonde hair with stripes of golden blonde in it. People keep asking how often I dye it, and I never have. Story 192. My grandfather was born in 1886 and died a year before humans landed on the moon. My father died at 85. I am 44 and figure I probably have a few years left in the tank. Story 193. I never grew any wisdom teeth. I am 33 years old, and they have never appeared on X-rays. Story 194. Fast metabolism, fairly beautiful, sturdy bones. Never broke anything despite being accident-prone. I do not get sunburned. Story 195. I have a good memory. I have never broken a bone, which is fortunate. I have large breasts. While I do not personally consider that a benefit, my husband does. Story 196. Baby face with no wrinkles. Last week a colleague thought we were the same age, and she is 10 years younger than me. My mother does not look her age, 80, and neither did her mother until she reached her mid-80s to early 90s. I have curly hair and twinkly blue eyes from my father, both of which I like. Story 197. Green eyes with a hint of blue, a rare eye color. Almost all females and one male on my mother's side of the family have green eyes. Story 198. Hair. Has some beautiful locks with no signs of thinning or receding yet. Story 199. Thick dark eyelashes and thick hair. My body is mostly hairless, with the hair I have being light and sparse. I have a naturally hourglass figure. Unfortunately, I am overweight, so it is more sand in the hourglass than I would like. Story 200. I get sick about once a year at most. That does not make up for everything else going wrong, though. Story 201. Bertollotti syndrome and constant pain, pretty tall though. Story 202. I am 58 years old and have never had a cavity. I am also good at throwing things into the garbage from far away. I can do it in the dark if I know where it is. I can calculate how hard to throw something. For example, a tissue takes a little more force than a ball. Story 203. Two things. Height. I am about 6 feet 4 inches tall, which places me comfortably in the top 5% of people, possibly the top 1% in the United States. I chose a more conservative estimate. Teeth. Although they are not even slightly straight, I have never needed a filling, extraction, or any dental work. I had a couple of gum infections during my wisdom teeth emergence, but beyond that, I have never had issues. I eat unhealthy food, drink sugary beverages, and do not take care of them as well as I should. But I have been incredibly lucky that they have never caused problems. Story 204. Never had braces, 6 feet 3 inches tall, full head of hair, can always sleep, and following a fluke appointment and subsequent diagnoses. My body does not produce any stress hormones, so I am always relaxed and happy. Story 205. I have a small toenail that grows upward instead of like a normal toenail. It apparently affects only the male side of my family. I suspect it may be related to genetic factors from previous generations. Story 206. Green eyes, I guess due to my dad's blue and my mom's brown eyes with long lashes. Sometimes my eyes seem to have different color hues too, such as appearing light or dark, or green with blue or green with brown. Story 207. Unusually thick corneas make it advantageous if I ever need to get laser-assisted in situ keratomileusis. Story 208. Nail patella syndrome is currently being managed with in vitro fertilization and embryo selection to ensure that genetic anomalies are not passed on. Story 209. Slim body no matter what I eat, with a nice figure, and I never work out, which makes me lazy. I also look very young for my age. People assume I am still in my early 20s. I am truly blessed in that sense because gray hair started appearing already, earlier than my sister, who is 12 years older than me. Story 210. I have a benign skin condition that is common in children and usually goes away by the mid-20s. I am in my 40s. Story 211. Hearing. I have amazing hearing. I can hear frequencies much lower and much higher than normal for humans, as well as decibels much lower than normal. Comes in handy but also has downsides, such as being able to hear most electronic squealing, some of which give me a headache. I am easily overwhelmed by loud areas like parties. I avoid concerts and fireworks if I can. However, I can tell when a delivery has arrived, because I can hear a car idling in the street and can tell if it is in front of my house or elsewhere down the street. I can also hear things like, right now I know the dryer is still running despite being one floor up and on the other side of the house, because I can hear what I guess is a rivet on my jeans periodically scraping against the inside of the drum. It is a rhythmic metal-on-metal tap and scratch accompanied by a motor hum. Story 212. Being left-handed is all I can think of. I'm short, sickly, nearsighted, and balding. Like my parents, though. Oh, let's throw our last child our worst. Story 213. I am often told I have very nice eyelashes. Girls often tell me how much they envy them. Story 214. I have a lot of hair and I am never going bald. It is my only good feature. The rest of me is a mess. Story 215. Great beard and hairline, 6 feet tall. Large foreskin. Story 216. I think I just got 3 or 4 numbers across the board. Not burdened with anything serious, but overall pretty bad. Story 217. Mental health. I hear other struggles, and I thank my lucky start that I have never had such thoughts or struggles. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.